Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Celebrity Creator Show. First off, I want to thank each and every one of you who came on tonight to watch us live. We know that your time is important, as is ours, and we know you could be somewhere else tonight, but you chose to sit in front of your computer and watch this show, and we thank you with much gratitude for doing that. Let's kick off the show, but first, before we get into it, as we always do, I'm going to introduce this wonderful woman to my, let's see, that's to my left, to your right as you're watching the show. Her name is Kathy Stover, as you can see just beneath her. But Kathy has an unbelievable past, just filled with experience, not just any kind of experience, but very phenomenal experience. She's been an operations manager and sales manager with over 25 years of experience, and all of that is with a Fortune 500 company. So that tells you right off the bat, she has the word manager and sales both in there. Which are two reasons that we hooked up and became partners in this business. She's also got a vast amount of marketing experience online. And by that I mean she's been an affiliate marketer since the early 90s. And I like to always affectionately call her the affiliate marketing queen because Kathy can almost sell anything to almost anyone online because, of course, you can't sell igloos to Eskimos and that kind of thing, but she's very good at it. Also has a lot of MLM or multi-level marketing experience dating back to the mid-'80s. And as a matter of fact, that's how she and I met. But that's another story for another day. Also, and most recently, she's become very successful as a social media coach and mentor. She can set up anyone, and I mean anyone, on social media, different avenues, and take your business to the next level. I've seen it happen. I've seen the results, and they're phenomenal. So if you need anything in the area of social media to get your business out there, give Kathy a jingle. You can contact her through our website here. She's also a budding speaker, along with yours truly, an author. She's also a power seller on eBay. So you're starting to get the commonality here. Marketing, sales, very, very good at it. She's also a top rated seller on eBay, and that takes a lot of trust from her buyers. Her buyers are the ones that are giving her this rating, and so they're saying she did a great job each and every time. And she has physical certificates on her wall behind her that show that. I've seen them. I've been there. It's right in front of her, actually, where she's sitting right now. There's proof, and I can make her pull it down and have you look at it, but we'll do that some other time. Don't want to leave holes in her walls. But anyway, with that, I would like to introduce my very, very dear friend, my business partner, and the co-creator of this very show, Kathy Stover. How are you doing tonight, Kathy?
I'm doing awesome. You're killing me, Brian. It's like, all the accolades and everything. Thank you so much. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I am, as always, delighted and excited to be sharing tonight in the show with you. I want to tell everybody a little bit about my business partner, friend, and co-creator as well, and technology guru for the Celebrity Creator Show. Brian has been a software engineer. You know, I've been saying for 23 years for the past year. So I'm thinking that anniversary had to be bumped up. So you're going to get another year added to that today.
Oh, great.
For 24 years, Brian has been a software engineer. And he also, for 6.5 years, was co-creator and co-owner of a travel-based MLM. And he shared a little bit about that with you, that we were both involved in an MLM capacity, and that's how we met. Brian is also a speaker. He is working on some writing right now and is an author, shares the excitement for social media, and some of the programs that he had up a ways back, he's pulled down now because he is revamping some of that with the changes that we're all seeing and experiencing with Twitter and Facebook these days. In addition to that, Brian has put together the beautiful website that you see here, our new Celebrity Creator site. We transitioned now from the Internet Citadel. So for those of you who wonder where that went, here we are, and we're excited about that. So I just want to thank Brian again for all the wonderful things that he does to pull this show together week after week. Tonight, this is a special night, as most of you know, because we typically have our show on Tuesday, but we have a very special guest that we're excited to introduce to you. And I'm going to put it back over to you, Brian, so you can introduce our guest tonight.
Well, thank you right back. You're going to get me gushing once again. I'm going to be as red as our website colors here if you keep that up. But thank you very much, Kathy. Laura Fenimore is on our show tonight. She is a passionate advocate for personal development and a shining example of how one can transform their life. She is a body image master, transformational leader, successful entrepreneur, life coach, certified professional coactive coach, speaker, and consultant. Whew. Laura works specifically with women around weight loss and body esteem issues by drawing from her own personal experiences. Her work is about turning people's pain into power and supporting them to have a relationship with their body that they always dreamed of and never believing it was possible for themselves. Laura has worked with author Jack Canfield, creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul brand, and many of you I'm sure have heard of him, along with Mark Victor Hansen. I believe they co-wrote a series of books. And she also worked with a teacher of transformational wisdom, internationally acclaimed speaker and author Marianne Williamson. And now, as Laura herself says, quote, "There is nothing that makes me happier than watching people's lives transform," unquote. And that's one of the reasons we are so ecstatic to have a person of Laura's caliber on our show. Laura, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I am so honored to be here, and I love your introductions of each other. That was so fantastic. So fantastic.
Thank you.
You're a great team.
Thank you. Thank you. We're excited you're here.
Good. I'm glad to be here. And, you know, I actually asked Brian and Kathy before the show, if before we get on with the show, if I could just start with a prayer just to kind of ground the space. And this is one of my all-time favorite prayers that I read many times a day. And it goes like this: May today there be peace within. May you trust, God, that you are exactly where you are meant to be. May you not forget the infinite possibilities that are born of faith. May you use those gifts that you have received and pass on the love that's been given to you. May you be content knowing that you are a child of God. Let this presence settle into your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing, dance, praise, and love. It is there for each and every one of us. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed.
Love that.
I can't think of a better way to start the show.
What a great way to start the show, and as you said, ground everything. So that's absolutely beautiful. Thanks for sharing that with us.
You're so welcome.
Well, what we would like to start talking about tonight is everything that you are so passionate about, Laura, and how you help so many women out there. And men, are you involved with men as well, or is it?
You know, like my online community is not a men's community. However, I work as a one-on-one. I work with people individually, and I actually have quite a few male clients. So, you know, I'm very open to that.
Excellent.
You know, and the reason I say that is because I know that primarily and typically women have body image issues, but you know, I think that, and I've worked in a totally male-dominated field my entire life. A lot of men have body image issues as well. But anyway, how did you get into the weight loss and body image mastery business to begin with? I mean, where did that all start?
Yeah, well, it actually all started right outside the womb. That sounds kind of heavy to begin with, but you know, I think many of us had challenging childhoods, and I was no exception to that. And the good news about my life today and the work that I do in the world is that my challenging childhood no longer rules my life or runs my life, nor is it a big part of my story. It happened, it's over, and I'm healed from it. But it was a very, very rough and rocky beginning for me. I am, you know, the youngest of 8 children and was a victim of child abuse and was put into foster homes when I was 11 years old and just had a rough start. And my way of coping with it from a very, very young age was to just eat compulsively. And I just became an active addict at a young age. And I can say that now and know that now, but at the time, all it was pain and fear and what's wrong with me, you know, like there's something seriously wrong with me. And I got myself, you know, so crazy and so sick. I mean, it was very, very, very dark that by the time I was 24 years old, I was deeply depressed. I was an active alcoholic, compulsive overeater. I was morbidly obese, and people look at me today and kind of find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to live, and I had an amazing, it wasn't just one moment, it was a series of many moments that got me to come to the realization that I could either take my life or make my life. And fortunately, I had the wisdom and the faith to take my power back. And I knew that when I took my power back, that this was my life's work. I didn't know what it was going to look like at the time or how I was going to help people, but I just knew that if I could heal, that I could help other people. And that's what my journey has been over the last almost 25 years. And I've been working as a coach for the last 6 years and have this online community, and we're going to get to that. But, I always say I've been blessed to be a teacher, so blessed.
And God bless you for doing that. God uses us all in different ways, and obviously He was preparing you to do the work you're doing now. And thank you for taking on this task to do what you're doing. And yeah, by looking at you, there is no way I would have ever guessed that you had any kind of those problems before. And even talking to you, briefly before the show, it's not evident whatsoever. So congratulations on that complete recovery that you've gone through.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that, Brian. And that's part of the reason why I don't take my recovery and what happened to me in my life for granted, because there are so many people out there that suffer and just can't get it and, don't find any joy in their life. And I know what it's like to feel no joy, and I know what it's like to feel joy. And yes, life is challenging for all of us, and it's busy, and it's all those things, but we all have it in us to find, our truth and who we are, and we can see the light. There's light for all of us.
Yes. Speaking of light, now let's fast forward 21 years. And you have a business now called Body Image Mastery and an online community for women called onepinky.com.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe explain a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, so actually it's more like 23 years. It's been many years that I actually released the weight. I released 100 pounds when I got to my lowest point, when I was 24 years old and I was having that moment of, am I going to make my life or break my life? Wow. I decided to take my power back and want my life back, and I released this weight, and I knew that when I let it go, that it was never coming back. But that we all say that 95%, that the reality is that 95% of the people that lose weight or release weight gain it back. But for me, it was much more than losing weight. It was about changing my insides. And that is what my program and my community is all about. It's not a diet club. It's not a exercise club. And even though diet and exercise are included in the whole plan, it's really not, it's not the methodology. The methodology is that the issues are in our tissues, and if we don't deal with them and heal them,
I like that.
then we're going to go back to the same habits that we have. Yeah.
So in other words, part of keeping the weight off is the program that you've put together by going through and kind of formulated it based on the experiences that you've gone through. So you actually curtail it to the individuals when they come in. Is that how it works, kind of?
Well, I think most of the people that show up have been on the yo-yo diet cycle most of their lives and have been in a lot of pain and like misery around what's wrong with me. And what my work is all about is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Actually, you're perfect just the way you are. But we have to look at some of the core beliefs and some of the things that are blocking you from seeing who you are. And what we were talking about before about body image, women are plagued by this body image thing, and we do have this set up in our culture that our bodies are an extension of who we are. And that's just the myth that we have to bust. And yes, it impacts men too. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But for women, it's a real problem with, you know, we see our outside as a reflection of our insides, and it has to be flip-flopped. Our insides are what matter, and who we are at our core is perfect.
Well, you know, I think the thing is, Laura, and I don't know if you'll agree, it's everywhere we look around us, you've got, and young girls in particular with all of the magazines. I mean, as you get older, not so much, but it's still there. But you've got the skinny models and, you know, the beautiful clothes and the makeup and the hair and everything. And I think that when we see that, we view that in our minds that that's how we should look too, so that when we look at ourselves in the mirror and we don't see that magazine image, it really takes a toll on our self-esteem or how we should look.
And I think as a result, that women are under an immense larger amount of pressure because of that than men are. I mean, we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff because we're not told that we have to look perfect through those images and everything we see on television, models, everywhere you look. You know, the shining, the women that get all the handsome men or the women that get all the jobs in TV, advertising, everywhere you look are in perfect shape. And that's a lot of pressure for every woman to uphold to. So, and men, we just don't have that issue to speak of.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, you guys have to just compete with the sexiest men alive in People magazine.
The top 25.
But you are so right, the both of you, and it's just coming from every way around us. And it's like, even if we're conscious of the impact, we still have to stay ahead of it. So it's like we are constantly getting messages all the time, every day. You know, like I've said to people, even if you sit in your house and never even leave the house, if you have any exposure to the internet or to television, you're going to see what perfection is supposed to look like. And that is what we're inundated with. And on a subconscious level, if we feel like we don't need that, then we're never good enough. And we have to actually, you know, wake up from that myth, first of all. So acknowledge that it's out there, and then accept that, you know, we've really been fighting against that myth, and then take some action, which is just, you know, consciousness and awareness about, you know, I really want to be aware of that voice in my mind that constantly tells me I don't look good enough, or I'm, you know, it's just, it's often there for us.
You know, I'm going to ask this. It really doesn't matter how you look on the outside, because even extremely beautiful women have body image issues. And so it's not necessarily how other people view us. It all stems from what's happening in here, right?
Amen. Yes, absolutely. It has nothing to do with our outsides. And you know, I am the greatest promoter of self-care and self-love. And, you know, it's not that I'm telling people to not look good. I mean, I take pride in how I look. I'm happy with how I look. But I also know that my outside is not, and it's not a reflection of my inside. My outside matters, but what really matters is that my heart is open, and that, you know, it's like my integrity is what matters more than anything, and who I am. Yeah.
So how do you get that balance? I mean, where does that balance come from? It's something, obviously, because you teach that and you've helped many, many, many women. But where does that balance come from? And is it something that happens in a week, or does it happen in 6 months? I mean, how does that work?
Good question.
Well, I wish, you know, I always say that my program is a process, not a pill. And my actual program is a 12-week course that women go through from, you know, we work together online, on the phone, in a group over a 12-week period. And there are many people that do the program over and over and over again. Not that they're, I always say that it's a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness when people, want to repeat something, because you don't always get it the first time. Sometimes it takes years to break habits and beliefs that have been, plaguing us for years. So there's no one size fits all. It really is how committed you are to breaking down those barriers inside of you and to making yourself a priority. That's the thing. As women, we are really wired to take care of everyone else and to, be caretakers. And it's like, especially when mothers, they're last on the list. So to make yourself important and a priority, and the body is the first line of attack. It's the place where it's just so easy to make it wrong. It just, again, that's part of the cultural norm that has been born in all of us. That is like, let's make our body wrong for not being okay. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not this. But if I could only, lose that extra weight or look pretty or get the right, eyebrows or whatever it is, I'd be much happier. And, that's just not true. Just not true.
Well, I've got to ask you this. You have got such a cute name. Wouldn't you agree, Brian? Isn't it cute?
It's just cute. Cute as a button.
I had to put that in there. OnePinky.com is just so cute. So how did you come up with that?
Thank you. And it's perfect because you just said before you said that body image has nothing to do with size or looks. And so the story about One Pinky, or how One Pinky was born, was when I was in a very dark place, when I was like 24 years old and I was about 220 pounds and I was hating my body and saying, I'm this fat, ugly drunk and putting myself down. There was this wonderful woman who was, tall and beautiful and slender, and she was saying how much she hated her body. And I was like, okay, I get me, but I don't get you. But both of us had the wisdom at that young age. She was in her 20s too. We both kind of looked at each other and said, this isn't about how we look. This is about our minds, as Kathy, you said before. And so she and I made this commitment, and we made this pinky promise to each other to start to appreciate our bodies for what they looked like. I mean, what they did, not what they looked like. And so we said, let's start with acknowledging our pinkies, because our pinkies are kind of benign. You can't make them wrong. They're not something that you can make fun of, not like your thighs or your bellies or your butt or things that women tend to attack. And so we just started with this, I'm going to fall in love with my pinky. That's what we got, very, very airy-fairy Northern California. We were like, let's love our pinkies. So we made this pinky promise, and I've been telling that story for years. And when it came time to create the community, it was like, let's start with small steps, one pinky step at a time.
That is so cool.
And yes, it is very cute, very cute. Love it. Hey, that's a great segue, by the way. For those watching the show, don't do this right now, but after the show's over, you'll be able to click on her nose right above her picture. If you click on her nose, you will go to Laura's Facebook profile page where you can connect with her. So go over there and add her as a friend and get to know her a little better. Also, directly beneath us, if you're on celebritycreators.com right now watching this, right beneath us, there is a banner that says One Pinky on it. Click on that and you'll get to find out more about what Laura does and how she transforms people's lives. So be sure to check out both her Facebook page and her actual business website. This is really good stuff, Laura, and I honestly didn't really know you that well before we came on the show. In fact, I just met you right before the show. Kathy got to know you quite a bit better. I'm so glad, Kathy, that you introduced her to us and this show, because she seems like a wonderful individual who's got a great cause and doing great work out there. So it's nice to have people like you out there, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Now, there's a lot of issues that surround weight and weight loss. What are some of the most difficult issues you've seen that people have when, you know, dealing with releasing their weight? Like, who are the ideal candidates, in other words, for onepinky.com?
Mm-hmm. So I would say that the greatest thing that people come in with is a belief system and a story that it won't work for me. And, you know, that's a lot of resistance built on a resistance. It's like resistance upon resistance upon resistance. And people start to believe their resistance. They just start to believe it won't work for me. It's not going to work for me. Nothing's ever worked for me. Here's my story. I've tried everything. And oftentimes, you know, the perfect client for me is, or the perfect client for One Pinky is somebody that said, I have tried everything. I've been on every diet. I've tried every program, and I still am willing to try something different, and I'm committed to making changes. You know, I always say I can't help you if you don't have a bit of willingness to change. So, you know, a perfect candidate is somebody that is just in a place of willingness, and even though they've been plagued with resistance and that crazy story that it won't work for me, you know, to me that's all the more reason why I want to prove them wrong and say, you know, it's possible to change. It really is. It really is. No matter how old you are, it's possible for any of us to change. Might take some time, but we can chip away at it, and I'm not going anywhere.
That's wonderful to be that kind of positive support for somebody that's going through those kinds of issues. And I have to tell you, I have had and do have issues like that from time to time myself. And it's for various things. And sometimes it pops up and I don't quite get it and understand where it's coming from. But it does, you know. And I have always discounted it as, well, that's just part of being a girl, right? So, in fact, you and I talked a little bit the other day. So, yeah, it's very interesting when we think that we have everything under control and everything appears to be under control. Sometimes it's not so much. So it's nice to have somebody like you that can help put those kinds of things into perspective and help you understand why you may be thinking and feeling some of the ways that you're thinking and feeling. But what I want to ask you, and thank you very much for that, because I just love that about you. What I want to ask is, how can you help women in their business with this program?
Good one.
Oh, yeah. So that is really great.
Yeah.
I think that there's a tremendous amount of weight that is carried on our shoulders. Emotional weight, spiritual weight. When people feel bad about how they look, it takes up a tremendous amount of energy, and it impacts their whole lives. So if you are spending, you know, more than half of the day with that just negative self-talk and negative self-criticism, it does impact your business. People do feel it. Have you ever been around somebody that you've just known just did not feel safe or comfortable in their body?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
You're just like, whoa. You know, they're like looking in the mirror all the time or feeling just fidgety or really, really uncomfortable. And it doesn't feel comfortable to be around that energy when you're around it. And so I'm saying that when people show up in their business life with just feeling really bad about themselves, and they might feel bad and insecure on the inside, but the way it comes out is like, God, I just, you know, in their mind, it comes out as, God, I'm just so ugly, or I'm so fat, or I'm so horrible, or I'm so embarrassed to go into this meeting, or I'm so, that might be the mental, you know, the mental monkey mind that goes going on. It actually just takes away from the energy of, what do I want to attract in my business world today? Who do I want to attract? Who do I want to allow to come into my life? Who do I want, you know, to spend my energy with? You know, it's like when you're thinking about your body all the time and how much you hate it, you really can't bring a lot of love in.
That's true.
You know?
I want to share something. You see, I want to show everybody this beautiful necklace here. This beautiful necklace was made by Dawn Doucette, a friend of Brian and I.
Yeah, Dawn.
And she has designs by Dawn Marie. But what I want to tell you about this necklace is this, talking about body image. Something that I told her when she said she was going to make this for me. I said I wanted to make sure that it hangs low. I don't want it too close because I have a lot of, like wrinkles around my neck. And I said, so this is what I want to tell you. It reminds me of an oak tree. You know how you can tell how old an oak tree is by the rings around it?
Yeah.
Cut it open. I said, well, that's how I feel when you look at my neck. So her response was, an oak tree is beautiful, and the acorns that drop from it are like pearls of wisdom. So just look at yourself as a wise oak tree with dropping pearls of wisdom, and we'll make sure that it hangs low enough and enough bling so people will be diverted. So you see what I'm saying? Everybody has something. That's my thing. Now everybody out there knows. But I mean, she came back in such a beautiful, positive way. And I get that from you in your heart, Laura, that you share that kind of love because you come from that kind of place to be able to give women that kind of confidence inside themselves to know that they too, it may not be an oak tree that's wise, dropping pearls of wisdom, but something beautiful that you share with them that totally transforms their lives.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. I love your story. That is fantastic.
Isn't that funny?
Dawn just came right back with that.
Yeah, what a beautiful response. And that's the type of person Dawn is as well. She's very warm, and we love her to death. And glad you made that shout out for her, Kathy, because the stuff she puts together, on top of being a great person, those necklaces and jewelry she puts together is phenomenal.
Well, I hadn't intended on doing that, but then we're talking about body image, and I thought, you know what the heck? I'm going to put it out there. My whole neck thing just drives me nuts. But, I mean, it's the truth, and it might be somebody else's, the other body part, that they have an issue with. And we don't have to have those kind of issues. We can let them go, and Laura is the person to help us do that.
Well, when I was talking before about function over form, I mean, really, I think one of the best ways to transform any kind of self-loathing we have towards our body is to really appreciate that body part for what it does and think about what our lives would be like without a neck. I mean, it wouldn't be very pleasant. And, and in fact, people that have, no necks or double or triple necks, I mean, they're as worthy of love as people that have long necks. I mean, we all were created as we were created. And as one of my teachers has always taught me, and I, love to say, is that one thing is you cannot mess with reality. Reality is right here, right now, what's happening. So in this moment, this is how my neck looks. And I can choose to love it for what it does, and I can choose to appreciate it for what it does. And, just focus on loving it. And you'll be amazed if you just practice that, like every time that critical voice comes up around your neck, like, oh God, look at my wrinkles or something, and say, God, Nick, I so appreciate that you're here. I so appreciate you for, holding my voice box, for holding my head on, for, just saying some loving things to it. And just turning it around. And after you practice that for a while, you're going to be amazed that the wrinkled voice will go away, or it'll soften, really soften. But it has to be a practice. Because that critical voice is there for all of us. And, it's like, do we choose to, give the power to the critical voice, or do we choose to give the power to the self-loving voice? And we're all at choice. It's
really interesting that so many things come together like this, and that's a unique way of looking at it, and that's what makes you so wonderful in what you do. And onepinky.com, everyone, go there if you have issues with anything she's been talking about with your body. But it all seems to all come around the mindset, doesn't it? It's the mind is so powerful, whether it be business, whether it be how you look, whether it be your spirituality, whether it be anything, it all always comes back to your mindset. And our life is truly what we make of it. And what people like you, Laura, do are help to train people that to just focus on their mindset, to start there and watch the transformation begin. And it's brutally simple the way you just described it, yet it's brilliant at the same time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, you know, that saying is that everything in life, you know, whatever I learned in life, I learned in whatever I need to know in life, I learned in kindergarten. And life is so simple. It's just not always easy. And these practices are easy, but it's just remember to do them and to make it a practice. And, you know, if there's anything that my course does, it brings that awareness, that conscious awareness. You know, oftentimes moms will say to me, you know, I am like the greatest mom in the world, and I really believe them, and I trust that and I tell my kids all the time how beautiful they are and how wonderful they are, and I'm like doing my best to make them feel good and gain self-esteem and healthy body esteem. And then I'll say, in the most loving way, and how do you talk to yourself in front of them? And then they'll be like, well, that's another story. So as parents, as people, we are all role models. And it's like, how do you want to model? You know, how do you want to be a role model in this lifetime? And gaining that consciousness and just that body awareness and, you know, and that mental awareness will make a huge impact on others and most of all on ourselves.
Well, you know, our title for tonight's show is How to Have $1 Million Body, Living Your Success Inside and Out, right? So if we're talking about body image and not focusing on certain attributes that we're not happy about, how do we have $1 million body inside and out and be successful with it?
Well, $1 million body, again, is very subjective, because accepting what is means this is who I am right now, this is what I look like, and I have to learn to acknowledge this is who I am, accept who I am, and if I want to change it, then that's where the action piece comes in. So having $1 million body is so personal. It isn't about Glamour magazine. It's about my inside. You know, when I go and talk to my audience is women, but every once in a while I'll go and talk to teenagers and I say, you know, who are your role models around body image? And they always say people like Queen Latifah and Alicia Keys and, you know, like women that are big boned and big sized women. They're like, they're so confident and they seem like they're so natural in their bodies. And, you know, Beyonce and, you know, hardly a big woman, but in Hollywood standards, she's, you know, crazily considered like gigantor woman, which is just so silly. But it's just like these young children, these young kids know what that self-confidence comes from inside. And it doesn't matter what those women look like. They love to just strut and feel confident. Whereas, you know, you can tell the difference between women in glamour that look really uncomfortable in their bodies and are waif-like thin. So $1 million body is inside. I feel confident with how I look. I am powerful in my body. I feel strong. I feel really good about myself. That comes from the inside. So,
you know, I was reading back over your bio and the information about you. You also have something called bodyimageMastery.com. How is that related to onepinky.com?
So bodyimageMastery.com, you know, /community is where you can buy information about the program.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah.
All right,
But you can also get it at onepinky.com.
Okay. I just put that URL up on the screen so people can write that down, bodyimageMastery.com /community. And that's where you learn more about the course that Laura teaches and the topics. And this is a weekly course, am I correct in that?
Correct.
Great.
Correct.
So they don't have to go a month and, you know, lose sight of the practice and the things you've taught them. They can get it refreshed the following week and then move on to the next topic, correct?
Right.
Excellent. Very good.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, something that we are getting ready to head into, some of my favorite times of the year, because there are so many yummy treats to eat and good stuff. And I always kind of joke. Thanksgiving will be at our house this year. I change off with my mom and with our daughter. And so my big joke is always, great, as soon as I finish cooking, I'm going to go throw my sweatpants on so I can eat. So, and that's after I've been like nibbling, you know, a little bit, the Julia Childs thing, a little bit for me, a little bit, you know. So with the holidays coming, cookies, candy, pies, cakes, and all of the yummy treats, what is your suggestion for us there? Mentally to prepare for it, and because we know the spread's going to be out there, and how we can deal with the challenges that brings for us.
I am so glad you brought this up. So glad. This is a really, really important thing. So the holidays are here, and most of us love the holiday time. And the thing is that all of us listening to this are adults, and there's no mystery about the holiday season. There's absolutely no mystery. You know, it's like it starts with Halloween, and then Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, and then New Year's, and then Valentine's Day, and then Easter. It's like the sugar holidays all just come like plowing out, one right after the other. And it's so funny because people sort of like have amnesia every year around the holidays. Like, you know, they just go unconscious. So there's the holidays, and there's oftentimes for many of us, the holidays bring up old memories, which for some of us are not very pleasant, and people get triggered by, you know, familial stuff, environmental stuff, where they're going to be, who they're going to be with. And yet, again, there's that consciousness. As adults, we can be aware of that, which is like the first thing is that so where am I going to spend the holidays, and how am I going to spend the holidays this year? And if you guys already know that, which most of us do, then it's, how do I want to be in relationship to the holidays? Like, do I want to spend the day, you know, doing what I've always done, or do I want to do something differently? And I actually have, if there's anyone that's listening to this live, I have a holiday planning schedule for just to create. It's a wonderful form, like how you want the holidays to look this year. So people can get that by emailing me, laura@onepinky.com. But it's planning is power, and there's no surprises, there's no accidents as to what, you know, what they're going to look like. Pretty much people know what the menus are going to be.
Right.
So it's how we choose to be with that. I say, you know, like for Christmas and Thanksgiving, if you just walk in eyes wide open and make the decision to, I'm going to eat everything on the table and love myself no matter what, or I'm going to choose to do it differently. I'm not going to eat everything on the table, and I'm going to, you know, for my pinkies, I always say pick an accountability partner, somebody in the community that you can be accountable for, to say, I'm only going to eat a certain amount of X, Y, Z. I want to commit to this. I want to commit to that. Because oftentimes we fall into the victim role around the holidays. Oh my God, there's so much food. Oh my God, my family's forcing me to eat it. Or, oh God, there's so much food around, I can't stand it, I have to eat it all. Again, we're adults. We get to take full responsibility for our lives, and there's no surprises. Everybody knows that, you know, unless you're a vegetarian like me, people eat turkey and mashed potatoes, but even for vegetarians like me, I pretty much know what's going to be there, you know? Like, it's just no mystery. Do I choose to eat pie, or do I not choose to eat pie? That's up to me. It's not up to somebody sticking, you know, a fork in my head and saying, you have to eat it.
A fork to your head. Yeah, I love it. I just chalk it up to I'm storing up for the winter. Gonna go into hibernation. That's a place of acceptance, though, Brian. Right. It's like, okay, so I am gonna be, you know, I'm gonna indulge.
I'm going to totally indulge, but I'm not going to make myself wrong for it. And that's where, you know, it's like guilt, fear, it doesn't get any of us anywhere. So if we spend Thanksgiving Day just in regret and shame and denial and pain and what a big, you know, pig I am, I mean, how happy and grateful is that? I don't think it's very happy and grateful. But to actually enter the holiday with, you know, I'm grateful, I'm alive, and I'm going to pig out today, but I'm accepting of that.
Yeah. Well, you know, and then it's good to do that, knowing that you're going to offset it with some exercise or something, you know, at a later date. And I was going to ask you if your program integrated any type of exercise regimen or any suggestions for folks who are who feel they are overweight. Is that part of what you teach them, or is it more just the mindset approach?
You know, it's both. It's both, actually. I have 2 of the lessons in the program of the 12 lessons. One is on food and one is on exercise. It's not, you know, people often show up and they expect that to be the first thing that they get is a diet plan. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, this isn't a diet plan. But I know a lot about nutrition and have not only studied a lot myself, but I always have experts on the Pinky calls, people that talk to my Pinkies about health and nutrition that are nutritionists, and definitely help with their resistance. Especially, I would say that people are more really resistant to the exercise more than they are willing to. They're more willing to change their food plan than they are to do the exercise.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
Well, that takes a lot of, I mean, you got to really be encouraged and
a lot of discipline.
A lot of discipline to be able to get up and do whatever it is, walking, treadmill, jumping up and down, whatever it is that you choose to do. It takes a lot of discipline, and you have to, and it goes back to mindset as well, I think, because you have to set your mind straight to get out there and get yourself into the place where you're going to do it. And I see from the program that you provide that it gives you the steps so that you can do that, and it becomes natural and a part of your regimen and what you do, correct?
Right. And I introduce people to my story in the beginning, which is that no one was more resistant to exercise than Laura Fenimore. I mean, yeah. I actually didn't start exercising until I was almost 30, and I had already released the weight.
Wow.
But I had a fat girl mentality, and I was never picked for the team when I was a kid, and I was always uncoordinated, and I wouldn't even go near a gym or even like walking. I mean, I had this big story about how I'll never, ever exercise. And I overcame that. And it took me a long time to overcome it, but it was like one pinky step at a time. It was one little step at a time. And, you know, I have a great story about that. So it's possible. And let me tell you, it was really challenging for me, but anything is possible.
I mean, Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's face it, exercise is actually literally painful, right? I saw growing up in high school, you know, every young adult male wanted to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, I had Muscle Magazine that my brother had subscribed to, and I'm thumbing through and looking at him and his buddies and all this, like, oh man, that would be cool. So all the signs in the gyms always say no pain, no gain. If you're not going through the pain, you're not going to get the gain. And it's literally true that exercise can be painful, especially if you have obesity problems, your joints, different limbs. If you're just starting out, you're going to get sore the next day or the day after. So there is pain involved, so they have to get over that pain factor. So I can see how that would be a bigger hurdle than most everything else. Changing a meal plan, that's not necessarily painful. That's just a change in habit. But getting up and exercising, that's a whole different game.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm by far not obese, but it's painful for me when I exercise.
You're nowhere near obese.
It hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, and you know that's true. Age also, right? The older we get, I'm feeling it. My knees and places I've never felt pain or didn't even know exist are screaming at me, going, "What the heck is that?" And you know, ouch! I don't want to do that anymore. But there are things you can do to limber up and rejuvenate those areas most of the time. But it's painful.
Well, the irony is that the thing that we need the most is often the thing that's the hardest for us.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, you know, it's like that is the thing that's going to help our joints in the long run. You know, I'm not suggesting that people go out and do silly things. You know, I've had knee injuries. I know you need to take time out. But for, you know, my pinkies that are overweight, that are really resistant to exercise, you know, it takes 30 days to change a habit if you do it every day consistently. And if there is anything, you know, I know for sure that if you could walk for 5 minutes every day, if you were blessed by God to have 2 legs, then anybody could walk down the street for 5 minutes. And if
True.
you could just start there.
Excellent.
5 minutes. And that is exactly how I started. I
Right.
started 5 minutes every day for 30 days. And then I did 10 minutes for 30 days. And at the time, we didn't have iPods. We had Walkman. And I had a cassette Walkman. And I listened to Tony Robbins and Marianne Williamson. And that changed my life. And Louise Hay, too, another one of my teachers. And, you know, this was, you know, a long time ago. I'm almost 50 now. This was when I was like 28 years old. And that was what got me to start exercising. 5 minutes for 30 days, and then 10 minutes for 30 days, and then 15 minutes. And I just kept increasing it. And after a year, you know, I was a walking fool around San Francisco, and I was walking around the city, too,
Wow.
where I was living at the time. So I went from it's impossible to, okay, I'm going to do this. And I have to tell you, I have many success stories of, you know, one of the women that I'm thinking of in particular, if there's anything she credits me for, she's like, I met Laura when I was 55, and my whole life, my story is that I would never, ever exercise, ever. And she just happens to live in the Bay Area. You know, not all of my pinkies live in the Bay Area, but she happens to live in the Bay Area, and now she walks the hills of Pacific Heights in San Francisco.
Wow.
And she's 60, almost 61 now, and she said, you know, the last 6 years of my life have been, you know, just changed.
Oh.
She didn't release any weight. She just made peace with her body and now exercises and feels healthier and sexier than ever. You know, and, you know, she had always suffered from obesity too, but she released inches. But the fact that she made peace with her body was her bottom line. And I'm telling you, at 61, she walks around like she's hot stuff. I actually happen to still see her once a year. I see her, and she's just amazing.
Oh,
You know,
that's
that
awesome.
that reminds me of Kathy, to be honest, because I was at her house. We had a mastermind group, meeting between us for several days over the weekend, and we went out, Kathy, her husband Mike, and myself, on one of her little power walks. You know, and she bought these Skechers shoes, so I bought some because, hey, you know, anything you can do to get a little more exercise in your day, even if you can't make it. So I strapped those on, and she lives in the mountains, and there's lots and up and down, and going around, and beautiful scenery. There's deer literally walking across the road. I'm like, wow. You almost, you know, just get blasé over, oh, there's another one. Yeah, big deal. But gorgeous scenery. But here we are walking. Yeah. Mike and I are in the back yakking, and she's gone. We're like, we better catch up, you know, and get up there. You know, we're gasping for air.
Great.
And then we turn around, we go back uphill, and Mike and we're both griping, like, are we almost done? Are we going to get back? Good grief. Are we taking another turn? Let's get back home. So Kathy, she walks the walk.
I love that.
Painfully, but yes, I do.
Good for you, Kath. Good for you.
Yeah, she put us to shame.
So I wanted to ask you, what or who would be your ideal candidate for onepinky.com?
Yeah, like I said, there are
type of woman.
many women out there who are really sick and tired of being sick and tired. And they might not necessarily care about the weight anymore, but they do care about their health. And health is mental, physical, and emotional. You know, the physical is really important, but so is the mental and the spiritual. So if you are spending, you know, like I said, that added weight at the job, if you're sitting around every day energetically telling yourself you look horrible or something like that. So people that are just sick of doing that, and people that just want to have more freedom and in their bodies, and have more joy in their lives, and make peace with their bodies. And like, really, when I said that piece around role modeling, I mean, like, there's no tomorrow. It's like, if you are a parent and you are making yourself wrong in front of your children, it's not helping them. It's actually hurting them. So, you know, we just need to be as positive as we can.
You know, I've got to say this. We are as always. It comes, and it's not. And this is our first, by the way, Thursday show. And I want to throw this out there. This is, Brian and I have known each other for 4 years, but this is actually our anniversary month. We've been doing what was the Internet Citadel show, and now the Celebrity Creators for a year this month. So we are celebrating our year anniversary.
Yay! Congratulations.
And this is our first Thursday show, so we're excited about that. But it always happens on Tuesday, and I can't believe it happened on Thursday too. Our hour has come and gone, and it just flies by, particularly when we have such a wonderful guest, beautiful person like you, Laura. It's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, I shared my neck tonight. I can't believe that. But I just want to tell you how grateful I am that and honored that we have had the opportunity to share this time, and that you got to meet Brian. I know that we're going to continue to stay in touch with each other and just create a beautiful friendship. But thank you so much for sharing what you do, Laura, with so many women out there and it doesn't, to me, it's not always if you're obese. It can be if you're thin. It's a whole mindset thing, because we all have issues that we need help with. And Laura is absolutely the woman to help you journey through that. I'm going to turn it back over to Brian, like I do, but I just wanted to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here and sharing tonight. Brian, I'm turning it back over to you.
Well, and happy anniversary, dear. That's one thing I gotta do this. Everywhere we go, because we go to a lot of events and things, and we always get asked the same question: are you two married? And we look at each other and we go, why, yes, we are, just not to each other. But Kathy, thank you so much for helping to put this whole thing together, for introducing me to Laura and bringing her on the show. What a gem, what a gift to have you on our show, Laura. We thank you from the bottom of our heart for appearing and for being who you are. You've been through the trenches. You've had to raise yourself up, and thank God you did. And now you are helping others to do similar things that you have already accomplished through your own experiences. So it's done, it's tried, it's true. So folks, go to onepinky.com after this show is over and go to her Facebook page, get to know her a little bit more. You can see already what a golden heart she has. So definitely hook up with Laura. Laura, thank you once again for being on our show. Kathy, thank you for being the glue that holds this show together. It's been a wonderful ride tonight. I really appreciate it.
You guys are great. I am honored. Thank you so much for doing great work in the world too. Really important what you guys are doing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, as Kathy said, I can't believe it either. We are at the end of the hour. We do respect your time. We will be back again this coming Tuesday with another phenomenal guest. You do not want to miss that show either. Another individual with a great heart, but also a lot of talent as well. Just Laura has her incredible talent in her area. Obviously, there's no doubt. This gentleman has talent in another area, and they all help us mold us toward a better business and a better life. And thank you once again, Laura. I can't thank you enough. I keep saying it, but thank you so much. To our viewers, thank you for hanging on with us, and we'll see you again next Tuesday. Good night now.
Good night.
Good night.